Hey everyone. My name is Emma, and you are listening to Revenge Diaries with Emma. Today we unravel a story that proves how the smallest, most insignificant objects can hold the weight of an entire world crashing down. Think about it, a forgotten coffee mug, a misplaced receipt, a single earring on the floor. They're just things, right? But sometimes, they're not. Sometimes, they're the first thread you pull, and the whole sweater of your life unravels with it. And a word of warning? Once you see that thread for what it is, you can't unsee it. The truth you're about to uncover is a heavy burden, and frankly, you probably won't survive this story without feeling a thing or two. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and the local time in the comments. I love seeing where everyone is tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into today's journey together. You know that feeling, that rare and beautiful feeling of absolute certainty? The kind where you've built a life with someone, and every brick feels solid, every beam is perfectly placed, and the foundation is nothing less than bedrock. You look at your future, and it's not some blurry, hazy dream, it's a high-definition photograph, clear and vibrant. That was her world. For 3 years, she had been living in a house she had helped build, brick by brick, with a man she saw as her partner in every sense of the word. His name was Liam, and to her, he was the calm in her chaos, the anchor in her storm. They had the kind of relationship that made other people a little jealous, the kind that seemed effortless from the outside. They finished each other's sentences, they laughed at the same stupid jokes, and they supported each other's ambitions with a fierce, unwavering loyalty. You could see it in the way he looked at her across a crowded room, a small, private smile just for her. You could feel it in the way her hand would naturally find his in the car, a silent, constant connection. Their life together was a tapestry woven with shared memories. There was the time they got lost in the pouring rain on a hiking trip and ended up huddled in a tiny cave, laughing so hard they could barely breathe. There was the night he cooked her a disastrous dinner that ended with them ordering pizza and eating it on the living room floor, surrounded by pots of burnt pasta. There were the quiet mornings, drinking coffee on the balcony, watching the city wake up, talking about everything and nothing at all. These moments weren't just highlights, they were the very fabric of their existence. They had moved in together a year ago, into a sun-drenched apartment with a small balcony where she grew herbs and a view of the city skyline that glittered at night like a handful of scattered diamonds. It was, in every conceivable way, a home. It was their sanctuary. On this particular Tuesday, nothing feels out of the ordinary. The sun is shining, a gentle, golden light filtering through the blinds and painting stripes on the wooden floor. She's humming to herself as she waters her basil plants, the earthy scent filling the air. Liam had already left for work, leaving a sticky note on the coffee maker. Have a great day, beautiful. Love you more. It's the kind of small, consistent gesture that defines their relationship. He's thoughtful, he's present, he's hers. Or so she believes. Later that afternoon, she gets a text from him. It's a simple, mundane request, the kind of thing that defines the comfortable rhythm of a long-term relationship. His car is in the shop, and he'd left some important documents he needs for a meeting in the glove compartment. Could she please grab them and drop them off at his office on her way to meet her friends for dinner? Of course, she replies instantly. It's no trouble at all. You find yourself walking to the parking garage of their apartment building, the click of her heels on the concrete echoing in the cavernous space. She's not thinking about anything in particular. Her mind is on the dinner tonight, on the funny story her friend is bound to tell, on the bottle of wine they'll probably share. She presses the key fob, and the lights of his sleek, black sedan flash in response. It's his car, his space, an extension of him. It's always impeccably clean, smelling of his cologne and the faint, lingering scent of the leather seats. She slides into the driver's seat, the familiar coolness of the leather a comfort against her skin. The interior is tidy, as always. A few charging cables neatly coiled in the center console, a single water bottle in the cup holder. It's the car of a man who has his life in order. She reaches for the glove compartment, her fingers brushing against the smooth, dark plastic. She pulls the handle, and it drops open with a soft thud. Inside, nestled among the insurance papers and the manual, is a manila envelope. The documents he needs. But as her hand closes around the envelope, something else catches her eye. It's small, it's black, and it's tangled around the gear stick. It's a hair tie. But it's not hers. She never uses black hair ties. She prefers the bright, colorful ones, the ones that are easy to spot. This one is plain, simple, and utterly foreign. Her fingers, still hovering over the envelope, freeze. A tiny, cold knot begins to form in the pit of her stomach. It's just a hair tie, you tell yourself. It could be anyone's. A friend's. A relative's. But as she stares at it, a single, terrifying thought begins to bloom in her mind, dark and poisonous. It's a thread. And she's about to pull it. You sit there for a moment, the engine of the car off, the silence of the parking garage pressing in on you. The black hair tie feels impossibly heavy in your palm, a small, elastic circle that suddenly carries the weight of 1,000 questions. Your mind, a logical and rational thing, scrambles for an explanation. It could belong to his sister, who sometimes borrows the car. It could be from a colleague he gave a ride to. It could have been there for months, a forgotten relic from a time before you were even in the picture. You try to latch onto these possibilities, to build a raft of plausible denials to keep yourself afloat. But a deeper, more instinctual part of you knows. It's the same part of you that knows a storm is coming before the first drop of rain falls. It's a gut feeling, cold and sharp. And as you sit there, clutching this tiny piece of evidence, your mind betrays you. It doesn't stay in the present, searching for answers. Instead, it hurtles backward, into a highlight reel of the life you thought you had. It's a defense mechanism, a desperate attempt to reinforce the walls that you now realize are about to come crashing down. You remember the day you met him with a clarity that's almost painful. It was at a friend's art exhibition, a crowded gallery buzzing with conversation and the clinking of wine glasses. You were feeling a bit out of place, admiring a particularly chaotic abstract painting when a voice beside you said, "I think it's supposed to be a tree, but it looks more like my uncle after a rough night." You turned, and there he was. Liam. He had a kind face, with eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled, and an easy, unforced confidence that was immediately disarming. You laughed, a genuine, unguarded laugh that surprised you. You spent the next hour talking about everything from the questionable art to your shared love for old black and white movies. He didn't just listen, he heard you. He asked questions that made you think, that made you feel seen. When he asked for your number, you wrote it on a napkin with a hand that was surprisingly steady. You walked out of that gallery feeling like you were floating. The first date was even better. He didn't take you to a fancy, overpriced restaurant. He took you to a tiny, hole-in-the-wall taco place you'd never even heard of, tucked away in a quiet part of the city. "The best food is always where the tourists aren't," he'd said with a wink. You sat at a wobbly table, eating the most delicious tacos you'd ever tasted, and talked for hours. You told him about your dreams, your fears, your embarrassing childhood stories. He told you about his passion for architecture, how he saw beauty in structures and spaces, how he wanted to build things that mattered. He made you laugh until your sides hurt. At the end of the night, he walked you to your door, and the kiss was perfect. It wasn't aggressive or hesitant, it was just right. It was the kind of kiss that feels like coming home. You knew, with a certainty that scared you a little, that this was the beginning of something significant. The first few months were a blur of happy moments. There was the weekend trip to the coast where you got caught in a downpour and had to shelter in a quaint bookstore, spending the afternoon reading to each other in a comfy armchair. There was the time he tried to surprise you by making breakfast in bed, which resulted in a small kitchen fire and a lot of smoke, but also the most memorable pancakes of your life. He was the kind of person who remembered the little things. He'd bring you your favorite coffee on a random Tuesday morning. He'd text you in the middle of the day just to say he was thinking of you. He celebrated your successes like they were his own and held you through your failures without judgment. You met his friends, and they were warm and welcoming, clearly adoring him. You met his family, and his mom pulled you aside within the first 10 minutes and told you, "I haven't seen him this happy in a very long time." Every sign pointed to one conclusion: this was it. This was the real thing. You remember the first time he said, "I love you." It wasn't on some grand, romantic holiday. It was a random, quiet night. You were curled up on the couch watching a documentary about deep-sea creatures, and he just turned to you, his expression soft and serious, and said it. "I love you." And the world didn't stop spinning, the stars didn't fall from the sky. It was simpler than that. It was like a key turning in a lock you hadn't even realized was there. A door inside you swung open, and everything just clicked into place. You said it back, and it felt like the most natural, true thing you had ever said. From that moment on, your relationship felt like it had been fortified, strengthened by a shared vulnerability and a profound sense of connection. You started building a life together, a future that stretched out before you, bright and full of promise. Moving in together was the next logical step. You spent weeks looking for the perfect apartment, and when you found the one with the balcony and the city view, you both knew instantly. It was the place where you would build your home. You remember the day you moved in, surrounded by boxes and chaos, but feeling an overwhelming sense of peace and excitement. You spent the first night sleeping on a mattress on the floor, eating pizza and laughing about the fact that you'd forgotten to buy plates. It wasn't perfect, but it was yours. Over the next year, you turned that empty apartment into a home. You painted the walls, you bought furniture together, you filled the shelves with books and photos. His things mixed with yours, a seamless blend of two lives becoming one. His architectural sketches were tacked to the wall next to your inspirational quotes. His expensive coffee machine sat on the counter next to your collection of quirky mugs. It was a physical representation of your partnership, a testament to the fact that you were a team. You had inside jokes and shared routines. You knew how to navigate each other's moods, how to offer comfort when it was needed, how to give space when it was required. You were, by all accounts, the perfect couple. You were the couple your friends pointed to and said, "That's what I want." You were living the dream. And as you sit in the silent car, the ghost of that dream clinging to you, you look down at the hair tie in your hand. It's so small, so insignificant. And yet, it feels like it's single-handedly dismantling the entire beautiful, perfect world you so carefully built. You finally place the hair tie on the passenger seat, as if it's a dangerous object that might burn you if you hold it for too long. You grab the manila envelope from the glove compartment, your movements feeling stiff and robotic. The documents are inside, exactly as he said they would be. But your mission has changed. This is no longer a simple errand. This is the start of an inquest, and the first piece of evidence has been catalogued. As you step out of the car and lock it, the click of the lock sounds unnaturally loud, like the cocking of a gun. You walk toward the elevator, your mind no longer a blank slate but a whirlwind of activity, replaying the recent past with a new, critical eye. It's funny how a single piece of information can recolor your entire history. It's like putting on a pair of glasses you didn't know you needed, and suddenly, the world, which you thought was in perfect focus, is revealed to be blurry and distorted. You start with the most recent memory, a few weeks ago. It was a Thursday, and he'd called to say he was pulling a late night at the office. A major deadline was looming, he'd said, his voice strained with exhaustion. You'd felt a pang of sympathy, imagining him hunched over his desk, surrounded by blueprints and empty coffee cups. You decided to surprise him, bringing him his favorite late-night snack, a greasy burger and fries from the place around the corner from his firm. You remember walking into his office building, the familiar scent of floor cleaner and stale air conditioning. But when you got to his floor, it was dark and deserted. His office light was off. You called him, a little knot of confusion tightening in your stomach. He answered on the second ring, his voice a little breathless. "Hey, I'm just heading out now," he'd said. "We decided to wrap it up. I'm in the parking garage." When you saw him a few minutes later, he looked tired, sure, but there was something else. He smelled different. Not of his usual cologne and the sterile scent of his office, but of something floral, a faint, sweet scent of perfume that wasn't yours. And his hair was slightly damp, as if he'd just showered. "Oh, we had a little celebration in the office," he'd explained quickly, noticing your gaze. "Sarah popped a bottle of cheap champagne. Must have gotten some on me." You'd accepted it, of course. It was a plausible explanation. But now, standing in the elevator, the memory of that floral scent hits you like a physical blow. Sarah from accounting doesn't wear floral perfume. She wears a sharp, citrusy scent. You know this because you complimented her on it at the last company party. Then there was the phone. For the first 2 years of your relationship, his phone was just an object, a tool. He'd leave it lying on the coffee table, screen up, notifications lighting up the screen for the world to see. He had nothing to hide, and neither did you. But about 6 months ago, things changed. Subtly at first. He started putting it face down when he was at home. If you were watching a movie and his phone buzzed, he would pick it up, glance at it, and a small, almost imperceptible smile would play on his lips before he'd type a quick reply and put it away, screen down again. You remember asking him once who he was texting so intently. "Just Mark," he'd said without looking up. Arguing about the best superhero movie, as usual. It seemed innocent enough. But then you noticed he started taking his phone with him everywhere. To the bathroom. To the kitchen to get a glass of water. It was like a permanent appendage. You once picked it up to check the time while he was in the shower, and he'd called out from the bathroom, "Can you grab my towel?" The timing was a little too perfect, a little too coincidental. You dismissed it as him just being more private, a natural evolution in a long-term relationship. But now you see it for what it was, the construction of a wall, brick by brick, notification by notification. Your mind drifts to a weekend about 2 months ago. He announced he was going on a guy's trip. A golf tournament upstate, he'd said. A chance for him and some of his colleagues to unwind and network. You were happy for him, you encouraged him to go, told him to have a great time. But when you started asking for details, the picture became fuzzy. "So, who's all going?" you'd asked as you helped him pack. "Oh, you know, the guys from work," he'd said, tossing a polo shirt into his suitcase. "Mark, Dave, a few others." He was vague, non-committal. When you asked for the name of the hotel, just in case, he'd waved a dismissive hand. "It's just some resort, babe. Don't worry about it." You didn't. You trusted him. But you remember the feeling of unease that settled over you after he left. It was the first time you felt like he was deliberately keeping you in the dark. You tried calling him that Saturday night, and it went straight to voicemail. He called you back the next morning, saying the reception was terrible up in the mountains. It was another plausible excuse. But now, you wonder if there was a mountain at all. Or if there was he even on it? And then there was the necklace. For your anniversary, 3 months ago, he gave you a stunning diamond pendant. It was beautiful, incredibly expensive, and completely unlike his usual style of gift-giving. He was the king of thoughtful, personal gifts, a first-edition copy of your favorite book, a framed print from that artist you both loved, a handcrafted ceramic mug he'd made in a pottery class. The diamond felt impersonal. Cold. When you'd opened it, your first reaction wasn't joy, but a flicker of confusion. "Liam, it's gorgeous," you'd said, trying to mask your surprise. But it must have cost a fortune. He just shrugged, a little too casually. "You're worth it." You remember the thought that flashed through your mind, a thought you immediately dismissed as ungrateful and cynical. This feels like a guilt gift. It was a classic trope, a cliché from a bad romantic comedy. You'd scolded yourself for even thinking it. But now, sitting in the car, the memory of that cold, heavy diamond around your neck feels like a brand. A payment. A way to soothe his own conscience while he was off somewhere else, smelling of someone else's perfume. The elevator doors open, and you walk back into your apartment. The sun-drenched space, which felt so warm and safe just an hour ago, now feels different. It feels like a movie set. The herbs on the balcony, the photos on the mantelpiece, the throw blanket draped over the couch, it all looks the same, but it feels like a facade. You drop the manila envelope on the kitchen counter with a thud. You need to take those documents to his office. You need to act normal. But you know you can't. The perfect picture is shattered, and you're left standing in the wreckage, holding a single, sharp piece of the glass, a black hair tie that doesn't belong to you. The cracks were always there, you realize. You just chose not to see them. You were too busy living in the perfect house to notice the foundation was crumbling. You stand in the middle of your living room, the manila envelope a stark, rectangular accusation on the kitchen counter. The afternoon sun has shifted, casting long shadows that stretch across the floor like grasping fingers. The apartment is quiet, but your mind is a cacophony of noise. The floral perfume, the password-protected phone, the vague guy's trip, the extravagant diamond necklace, they're all circling like vultures, but at the center of it all is that one small, black circle. You can't leave it there. You can't let it sit in his car, a silent witness to a crime you're only just beginning to understand. You have to see it again. You have to hold it, to examine it, to try and extract its secrets. You find yourself walking back to the elevator, your steps now filled with a new sense of purpose. This isn't a panicked flight, it's a mission. You're a detective returning to the scene of the crime to collect a crucial piece of evidence. The car is exactly as you left it. You slide back into the driver's seat, the air still holding the faint, familiar scent of him, but now it's tainted, corrupted by the presence of the foreign object. You pick up the hair tie. It's a simple, black, elastic band with a small, metal clasp. It's not the kind of cheap, flimsy thing you buy in a pack of 20 from the drugstore. This is sturdier, more substantial. The elastic is thick and strong, the kind that would hold a thick ponytail in place without slipping. The metal clasp is a dull, matte black, not shiny chrome. It's minimalist, functional, and utterly devoid of personality. It's the kind of hair tie someone who is serious, perhaps even a little severe, would use. Someone who doesn't have time for bright colors or flimsy accessories. You hold it up to the light, twisting it between your fingers. There are no stray hairs caught in it. No scent of perfume or shampoo. It's clean, almost sterile, as if it's been deliberately wiped of any identifying characteristics. This lack of evidence is, in itself, a form of evidence. It feels deliberate. You take it back upstairs to the apartment, closing the door behind you and leaning against it for a moment, the cool with a small comfort against your back. You walk over to the kitchen island and place the hair tie under the bright, focused light of the pendant lamp. You study it as if it's an ancient artifact, the key to unlocking a lost civilization. Who does this belong to? You try to build a picture of the owner in your mind. Is she a colleague? A lawyer, maybe? An architect, like him? Someone who wears sharp suits and her hair in a tight, no-nonsense bun? The hair tie seems to suggest that. It's practical, efficient. It doesn't scream, seductress, or homewrecker. It whispers, competent professional. This makes it somehow worse. It's not a fleeting, passionate affair with a wild, unpredictable woman. It feels methodical. Calculated. You pull out your phone. Your fingers tremble slightly as you open Instagram and start scrolling through your followers, then through his. You're looking for a woman, any woman, who might be the owner of this hair tie. You scan photos for a glimpse of a black hair tie on a wrist, in a hair, on a nightstand. You look at his colleagues, his old college friends, the wives and girlfriends of his buddies. Nothing. You feel a surge of frustration, a desperate need to put a face to this anonymous object. You move to Facebook, your search becoming more frantic. You're looking for someone in his life who fits the profile you've created, professional, understated, maybe a little bit of a minimalist. You click through photo albums, your heart pounding with every swipe. Each smiling face, each group photo from a work event or a party, becomes a potential suspect. Is it her? The woman from marketing who always looks so put together? Is it the new partner at his firm whose bio picture is all sharp angles and a severe, tight ponytail? You're chasing ghosts, building theories on nothing but a single piece of elastic. The search yields nothing but a rising sense of panic and a headache throbbing behind your eyes. You put the phone down, the screen glowing with the faces of people you thought you knew. The hair tie lies on the counter, a small, black hole sucking all the light and happiness out of the room. You realize you can't live like this. You can't spend your days and nights consumed by this mystery, this gnawing uncertainty. The not knowing is a poison, slowly seeping into every part of your life. You have two choices: you can ignore it, pretend you never found it, and live in a state of willful blindness, hoping the cracks you've discovered don't widen into a chasm. Or you can confront it. You can take this small, silent object and use it to start a conversation, a battle you know you might not win. The first choice feels like a slow, painful death. The second feels like jumping off a cliff. But at least jumping off a cliff is a decision. It's an action. You know you can't just call him screaming. That's what he would expect. That's what a crazy, jealous girlfriend would do. You have to be smarter than that. You have to be calm. You have to present the evidence and watch his face, listen to his voice, study his every move. The hair tie is your test. His reaction to it will tell you everything you need to know. You pick it up one last time, its smooth, cool surface a stark contrast to the fire raging inside you. You're no longer just the woman who loves him. You're the woman who found a hair tie that isn't hers. And you're going to find out who it belongs to. You place it carefully in your purse, nestled next to your wallet and keys. It's no longer just an object. It's a weapon. And you're about to go to war. The rest of the afternoon passes in a strange, suspended state of animation. You go through the motions of your life, but you're not really present. You water the plants, but you don't see the green leaves. You reply to a text from your friend about dinner tonight, but your fingers feel disconnected from your brain. The hair tie is a constant, heavy presence in your purse, a secret you're carrying. You decide against dropping the documents off at his office. That feels like a task from a different lifetime, a life where the biggest problem was a looming deadline. Now, the only problem that matters is the man who is supposed to walk through that door in a few hours, and the story he's going to tell you. You decide to cook dinner. It's a bizarre impulse, a way to create a semblance of normalcy, to anchor yourself in the familiar rhythm of chopping vegetables and simmering sauce. The aroma of garlic and onions fills the apartment, a comforting, domestic scent that feels like a cruel joke. You set the table for two, just like you always do. You light a candle, its flame flickering gently in the dimming light. You're creating a stage for a performance, and you're not sure if you're the lead actor or the unsuspecting audience. You rehearse what you're going to say in your head. Not, "Who is she?" Not, "Are you cheating on me?" That's too aggressive. It will put him on the defensive immediately. You need to be casual, almost offhand. "Hey, I found something in your car today." You'll hold it up, a small, innocent question mark. His reaction will be the truth. You know it. When you hear the key in the lock, your heart leaps into your throat. This is it. The moment of truth. You take a deep breath, forcing yourself to stay calm, to adopt the role of the loving, slightly clueless girlfriend. He walks in, looking tired but handsome in his work clothes. He drops his briefcase by the door and shrugs off his jacket, his movements fluid and familiar. "Hey, beautiful," he says, his voice warm and affectionate. He walks over to you, wraps his arms around your waist, and kisses you on the cheek. Something smells amazing. He smells of his usual cologne, and for a fleeting, insane moment, you want to believe it's all been a terrible misunderstanding. You want to melt into his arms and forget about the black circle of elastic that's burning a hole in your purse. You force a smile. "Just a little pasta. How was your day?" You ask the question, your voice sounding surprisingly steady. He launches into a story about a difficult client, a boring meeting, the usual office politics. You listen, nodding in all the right places, but you're not hearing the words. You're studying his face, looking for a flicker of guilt, a sign of deception. But there's nothing. He seems completely normal, completely at ease. He's either the best actor you've ever seen, or he's innocent. You cling to that second possibility, a desperate hope. After dinner, when you're both sitting on the couch, a glass of wine in hand, you decide it's time. The moment is as good as any. The lighting is soft, the mood is relaxed. You reach into your purse, your fingers closing around the hair tie. Your heart is pounding so hard you're sure he can hear it. "Oh, by the way," you say, trying to sound as casual as possible. "When I was in your car getting those documents this afternoon, I found this." You open your palm and hold it out to him. He looks down at your hand, then back up at your face. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't look panicked. He just looks confused. He takes the hair tie from you, a small furrow appearing between his brows. He examines it for a moment, turning it over in his fingers. "Oh, this," he says, and a small, almost amused smile touches his lips. "I was wondering where this went." He looks at you, his eyes clear and direct. "It's Chloe's." You stare at him, your mind racing. "Chloe? You don't know any Chloe." "Chloe," you repeat, your voice barely a whisper. "Yeah, Chloe from the design team," he says, his tone perfectly reasonable, as if he's explaining the plot of a movie. "Remember I told you about that big project we're pitching? The one with the eco-friendly housing development? She's the lead designer on it. We had to drive out to the site last week to do a final survey. Her car wouldn't start, so I gave her a ride. Her hair was up in this messy bun thing all day. She must have dropped it when she was getting her stuff out of the back seat. He holds it out to you, his expression open and honest. I meant to give it back to her, but it completely slipped my mind. With the deadline and everything, you know how it is. The story is so detailed, so specific, it's disarming. It has a name, a context, a reason. It's not a vague, flimsy excuse. It's a plausible, professional explanation. You search his face for any sign of a lie, any twitch of an eye, any tightening of his jaw. There's nothing. He seems genuinely relieved to have solved the mystery of the missing hair tie. He even chuckles a little. She's probably been driving herself crazy looking for it. She's super particular about her hair stuff. Says the cheap one, snap. He looks at you, his expression softening slightly as he sees the uncertainty on your face. He reaches out and takes your hand. Hey, he says, his voice gentle. You're not seriously worried about this, are you? It's just a hair tie, babe. And just like that, he turns it around. He makes you feel like the one who's overreacting, the one who's being irrational. The doubt that had been a roaring fire inside you is reduced to a flickering ember. You want to believe him. You need to believe him. The alternative is a reality so painful you can't even begin to process it. You look into his eyes, the eyes you've trusted for 3 years, and you see nothing but love and concern. Maybe you were being crazy. Maybe you let your imagination run wild. No, you say, the word feeling heavy on your tongue. No, of course not. I didn't recognize it. He smiles, a warm, reassuring smile that melts the last of your resistance. He leans in and kisses you, a soft, lingering kiss that tastes of wine and forgiveness. I love you, he says, his forehead resting against yours. You know you're the only one, right? You nod, a single tear escaping from the corner of your eye and tracing a path down your cheek. It's a tear of relief. The crisis is over. The monster under the bed was just a pile of clothes. He puts the hair tie on the coffee table, a forgotten, harmless object. I'll give it back to her tomorrow, he says, already moving on. You watch as he picks up the remote and starts flipping through channels, the incident seemingly forgotten. You take a deep breath, the air finally feeling like it can reach your lungs again. You were wrong. You were silly. You almost let a stupid piece of elastic destroy the best thing you've ever had. You snuggle closer to him, wrapping your arms around his waist, and try to push the lingering, nagging doubt out of your mind. You almost succeeded. But as you rest your head on his chest, you can't help but think, Chloe from the design team doesn't wear her hair in a messy bun. You saw her at the company picnic last month. Her hair was long and straight, hanging loosely over her shoulders. He lied. He looked you right in the eye and he lied. And the relief you felt just moments ago curdles into something cold and hard. The temporary reassurance has worn off, and in its place is a terrifying certainty. You lie there, the weight of his arm around you feeling less like a comfort and more like a shackle. His breathing is deep and even, a steady rhythm that tells you he's asleep. He drifted off easily, the picture of innocence, a man who had successfully navigated a minor domestic squabble. But you are wide awake, your eyes fixed on the ceiling, the patterns in the plaster swirling like a hurricane in your mind. The relief you felt earlier has evaporated, leaving behind a toxic residue of anger and betrayal. He lied. He looked you in the eye, his voice full of gentle reassurance, and he lied. The name, Chloe, hangs in the air, a phantom limb of a story that never existed. The memory of Chloe at the company picnic, her long, straight hair shimmering in the sun, is not a vague recollection, it's a high-definition photograph in your mind. He didn't just make a mistake. He constructed a lie, complete with a name, a profession, and a backstory. And he did it so convincingly. This is the moment the last vestiges of your old self die. The woman who wanted to believe, who chose trust over suspicion, who gave him the benefit of the doubt, is gone. In her place is someone new. Someone colder. Someone who is no longer interested in reassurance, she is interested in facts. You slide out from under his arm, your movements slow and deliberate, trying not to make a sound. You stand beside the bed, looking down at him. In the dim light, he looks peaceful, almost boyish. It's a mask, you now realize. A carefully constructed facade. And you are going to tear it off, piece by piece. The temporary reassurance he gave you wasn't a bomb, it was a test. And he failed. Now, the investigation begins. You pad silently into the living room, the floorboards cool under your bare feet. The apartment is dark, save for the faint glow of the city lights filtering through the blinds. You sit down at his desk, the smooth surface of the wood cool to the touch. This is his command center, the place where he builds his professional world. But you're looking for the shadows he's hiding. Your first target is the obvious one, his phone. You know it's on his nightstand, charging. You could go back in there, unplug it, and try to get into it. But you already know that's a dead end. He's been too careful with it lately. You remember trying his old passcode a few weeks ago, your birthday, on a whim. It hadn't worked. He'd changed it. That fact, which you had dismissed at the time, now screams at you. He's hiding something on that phone, and he's built a wall around it. Your eyes drift to his laptop, sitting closed on the desk. It's his work computer, a sleek, powerful machine he uses for everything from drafting blueprints to watching Netflix. He's often more careless with it, leaving it open, logged into his various accounts. It's a vulnerability. You open the lid, the screen lighting up your face with a soft, blue glow. It's not locked. It's open to his email inbox. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the silent room. This is it. The door is ajar. You hesitate for a moment, your fingers hovering over the trackpad. Once you cross this line, there's no going back. You can't unsee what you're about to find. But you're already past the point of no return. The lie about the hair tie was the point of no return. You start with his main inbox. You scan the subject lines, a mix of work-related emails, newsletters, and a few from his family. Nothing jumps out. You search for keywords: Chloe, hotel, dinner, love. Nothing. He's too smart for that. He wouldn't use his primary email for something this secret. You're about to give up on the email when a thought strikes you. You check his browser history. It's a tedious list of websites, mostly architecture blogs, news sites, and YouTube tutorials. But then you see it. A few days ago, he visited the Gmail login page. But he didn't just visit it. He clicked on Create Account. And then, a few minutes later, he logged in to a new address. The browser history doesn't show the address itself, but it shows the login page from mail.google.com. He's created a secret email. A cold dread washes over you, followed by a surge of adrenaline. This is the key. You don't have the password. But you know him. You know how his mind works. You start guessing. It's not your name. It's not his birthday. It's not the name of your first pet. You try combinations of things that are meaningful to him, but to no one else. The name of his favorite architect. The street he grew up on. The model of his first car. You're about to give up, a wave of despair threatening to engulf you, when you try one last thing. It's a long shot, a random detail from a conversation you had months ago. You were talking about legacy, about what you want to leave behind. He'd said, half-jokingly, that he wanted to build something that would last, a legacy in concrete. You type legacy in concrete 78 into the password field. The number 78 is his birth year. You hit enter. The screen refreshes, and the inbox loads. Your breath catches in your throat. You're in. The inbox is mostly empty, a few spam emails in the trash. But in the sent folder, you find what you're looking for. There's a draft of an email, never sent. It's addressed to a contact simply named A. The subject line is blank. The body of the email is short and devastating. I can't stop thinking about you. Last night was everything. I know this is complicated, but I don't care. I need to see you again. Soon. Below the message is a signature, L, it's his. You feel a wave of nausea, a physical sickness that rises from the pit of your stomach. You click on the contact, A. An email address pops up, anastasia.becker@gmail.com. Anastasia. You don't know an Anastasia. You do a quick search on social media. You find her. She's a lawyer. She's beautiful, with sharp, intelligent eyes and a smile that doesn't quite reach them. And in her profile picture, her hair is pulled back in a tight, severe ponytail, held in place by a black hair tie. It's her. It has to be her. You lean back in the chair, the laptop screen illuminating your pale face. The evidence is no longer a vague feeling or a circumstantial hair tie. It's an email. It's a name. It's a face. The secret investigation has yielded its first, bitter fruit. You have proof. You have a name. And you know, with a certainty that chills you to the bone, that this is just the beginning. There's more. There has to be more. And you're going to find it all. You sit there, the glow of the laptop screen casting long shadows across the room. Anastasia Becker. The name echoes in the silent apartment, a foreign syllable that has somehow become the center of your universe. Her LinkedIn profile is a testament to ambition, a top-tier law school, a partnership at a prestigious firm by 30, a list of accomplishments a mile long. She's brilliant, successful, and exactly the kind of woman you could imagine him being attracted to. You click over to her Instagram. It's a curated collection of her life, expensive dinners, trips to exotic locations, photos with a group of equally polished friends. And then you see it. A photo from 6 months ago. She's at a restaurant, a glass of wine in her hand, smiling at someone just out of frame. You recognize the restaurant. It's the same place he took you for your anniversary, the one where he gave you the diamond necklace. You check the date. He told you he was out of town on a business trip that weekend. The first lie clicks into place, a cold, hard puzzle piece snapping into position. You become a digital archaeologist, sifting through the layers of their online lives. You go back years on her profile, looking for any sign of him. There are no tagged photos, no comments from his account. They're careful. But you find a picture from a charity gala 2 years ago. It's a group photo of her firm's partners and their guests. She's in the middle, and standing a few feet behind her, almost out of focus, is Liam. He's looking at her. It's not a casual glance. It's a look of intense, focused interest. You've seen that look before, but it was always directed at you. Seeing it aimed at her feels like a physical blow. You remember that night. He told you he had to go to a boring work event, that he'd be late, and you shouldn't wait up. You didn't think anything of it. Now, you see it for what it was, a date. He went to a gala with her, then came home to you, smelling of champagne and betrayal. The online connections are damning, but you need more. You need to hear their voices, to read their words. You go back to his laptop, your fingers flying across the keyboard. You know he's meticulous, but everyone makes mistakes. You search his files for any trace of her name. Nothing. You search for chat logs, for backups, for anything. Then you remember a conversation you had a while ago about cloud storage. He was a big proponent of it, a way to keep all his devices synced. You navigate to the application he uses, a popular service that automatically backs up photos and documents. You find his backup folder. It's a treasure trove of his digital life. And there, buried in a subfolder labeled Archives, is a file named chat_export.zip. Your heart pounds as you double-click it. The file unzips, revealing a series of HTML files. You click on the first one. It's a text message conversation. And the other contact is named Stasia. The world narrows to the screen in front of you. You start reading, and it's like watching a car crash in slow motion. The messages start over a year ago. The early ones are cautious, professional. Thanks for your help with the Becker case. My pleasure. Let me know if you need anything else. But they quickly evolve. The formal language dissolves into something more intimate. I can't stop thinking about our conversation today. The feeling is mutual, Liam. They develop pet names for each other. He calls her Anna. She calls him Elle. It's a secret language, a world you were never meant to be a part of. You read message after message, your stomach twisting into a tighter and tighter knot. They plan their meetings with the precision of military strategists. I'm working late on Thursday. Can you get away? I'll tell Mark I have a client dinner. Pick me up at 8. The guy's trip to the golf tournament? It was a weekend away with her at a boutique hotel in the mountains. You find a message from him with a link to the hotel, followed by a heart-eyed emoji from her. The night he came home smelling of floral perfume? It was because they'd been to a bar to celebrate a win in her case. The cheap champagne story was a lie. It was expensive champagne, and he'd sprayed it on her in a moment of celebratory joy. The messages are filled with a level of emotional intimacy that is more painful than the physical betrayal. He shares things with her that he's never shared with you. He complains about his job, about his stress, about feeling stuck. He tells her things you thought were reserved for you, his partner. She, in turn, offers him a kind of validation you didn't realize he was seeking. You're brilliant, Elle, don't ever forget that. You deserve so much more than you have. They talk about a future together, not in concrete terms, but in wistful, longing whispers. Someday, she writes. Someday, he replies. It's a secret dream, a parallel life that he's been building right under your nose. You scroll back to the very first message between them. The date makes you gasp. It's from over a year and a half ago. The affair has been going on for almost as long as you've been living in this apartment. For 18 months, while you were building a home with him, he was building a secret world with her. The diamond necklace wasn't a guilt gift for a one-time mistake. It was a payment for a subscription to a double life. The late nights at the office, the sudden business trips, the newfound privacy with his phone, it all makes sense now. It wasn't a series of random, unconnected events. It was a pattern. A meticulously constructed web of lies, and you were living at the very center of it, completely oblivious. The evidence isn't just mounting anymore, it's a tidal wave, and you're about to be swept away. You close the laptop, the screen going black, but the words are seared into your memory. The full scope of his betrayal is laid bare, and it's more vast and more devastating than you could have ever imagined. The darkness of the closed laptop screen does nothing to block the images now burned into your mind. You sit in the silent, cold apartment, a statue carved from ice and betrayal. The frantic energy of the investigation has drained away, leaving behind a vast, hollow emptiness. You know everything now. The name, the timeline, the details. The affair isn't a recent development, a temporary lapse in judgment. It's a fully formed, long-term relationship that has been running parallel to your own for 18 months. Half a year longer than you've lived in this apartment. The realization doesn't hit you like a sudden explosion. It's a slow, creeping poison, seeping into every cell, every memory, every part of the life you thought you had. You lean back in the chair, your eyes unfocused, staring at the wall. But you're not seeing the wall. You're seeing the past, replaying it on a loop, but this time with the director's commentary. You see yourself standing at the door 18 months ago, waving goodbye to him as he left for his so-called guy's golf trip. You remember the pang of loneliness you felt, but also the pride. You were proud of his ambition, his dedication to his career. Now, the image superimposes itself with another, him and Anastasia, laughing as they check into that boutique hotel in the mountains, the air crisp with the promise of a stolen weekend. You remember the text he sent you from the trip, a photo of a golf course with the caption, "Missing you already." It was a lie. A premeditated, cold-blooded lie, typed out while he was lying in bed with another woman. The memory of your own reply, a string of heart emojis, makes you feel sick to your stomach. You were a character in his play, reciting lines he had written for you. Your mind drifts to another memory, from about 6 months ago. He came home from work, looking drained. He slumped onto the couch, his head in his hands. You sat beside him, rubbing his back, asking him what was wrong. "It's just work," he'd said, his voice muffled. "This project is a nightmare. The client is impossible. I feel like I'm failing." You spent the next hour comforting him, telling him how brilliant he was, how he could handle anything. You made him his favorite tea and listened patiently as he vented. You felt like a good partner, a supportive girlfriend. Now, you read the chat logs from that same day. He wasn't stressed about work. He was stressed because Anastasia had been offered a job in another city. Their entire future, the someday they whispered about, was suddenly in jeopardy. The comfort he needed wasn't from you, it was from her. You weren't his partner in that moment, you were the obstacle, the ball and chain keeping him from the life he really wanted. Your comfort was an inconvenience, a performance he had to endure. And then there's the diamond necklace. The memory, once a symbol of his love, now feels like a brand of shame. You remember the evening vividly. He'd made a reservation at the most expensive restaurant in town. He was charming, attentive, and more romantic than he'd been in months. After dinner, he presented you with the velvet box. Inside, the diamond pendant sparkled under the candlelight. "You deserve the world," he'd said, his eyes shining with what you thought was love. You cried. You felt so cherished, so seen. Now, you know the truth. The dinner and the necklace weren't for you. They were for him. They were an act of penance. You checked the chat logs again. The weekend before your anniversary, he and Anastasia had a huge fight. She was tired of being the secret. She'd given him an ultimatum. The diamond wasn't a gift of love, it was a down payment on your continued ignorance. It was a tool he used to silence his own guilt and keep you placated while he went back to her, promising her he'd figure things out. You weren't his girlfriend, you were his alibi. The full scope of the deception is what breaks you. It's not just the sex. It's not just the lies. It's the sheer, audacious scale of it. For a year and a half, he has been living two lives. He has been a loving, attentive boyfriend to you, and a passionate, devoted partner to her. He has been splitting his time, his emotions, his very soul between two women. And the question that echoes in the silent apartment is not just, how could he do this, but why did he stay? Why didn't he just leave? Why put you through this elaborate charade? The answer is more cruel than any affair. He stayed because he wanted to have it all. He wanted the comfort and stability of the home you built with him, the domestic bliss of your life together, and he wanted the thrill and escape of his secret world with Anastasia. He wasn't torn between two choices, he was greedily consuming both. You weren't a choice, you were an option. A convenient, comfortable, reliable option. You look around the apartment, the home you so lovingly created. The sun-drenched living room, the balcony with the herbs, the photos of you and him laughing on the mantelpiece. It's all a lie. A meticulously crafted stage set for a play where you were the only one who didn't know the script. Every shared meal, every inside joke, every moment of intimacy has been tainted. The last 18 months of your life have been stolen, replaced by a cheap counterfeit. You're not mourning a relationship that ended, you're mourning one that never really existed. The man you loved, the man you built a life with, is a fiction. A character he played so well he even had you convinced. The grief is overwhelming, a tidal wave of pain that threatens to pull you under. But as you sit there, drowning in the wreckage of your past, a new feeling begins to bubble up from the depths. It's small at first, a tiny spark in the suffocating darkness. It's not sadness. It's not grief. It's rage. A cold, hard, diamond-sharp rage. And it's the only thing keeping you afloat. The rage that felt so empowering just moments ago begins to curdle, turning into something heavy and suffocating. It's not a fire anymore, it's a leaden weight in your chest, pressing down on you until you can barely breathe. You slide out of the chair, your legs giving way beneath you, and collapse onto the floor. The cold hardwood is a shock against your skin, but you don't have the energy to move. You just sit there, in the middle of the living room floor, the epicenter of your shattered world. And then, the dam breaks. It's not a quiet, dignified weeping. It's a raw, guttural sob that tears its way out of your throat, a sound of pure, unadulterated agony. You curl into a ball, your arms wrapped around your stomach, as wave after wave of pain crashes over you. You cry for the 18 months you lost, for the future that was stolen from you. You cry for the woman you were, the woman who trusted so completely, who loved so blindly. You cry for every shared meal, every whispered secret, every tender moment, all of them now tainted, transformed into scenes from a horror movie where you were the only one who didn't know you were in danger. You look up through a blur of tears, your gaze landing on a photo on the mantelpiece. It's from a trip you took to the beach last summer. You're both laughing, the wind whipping your hair across your face, his arm wrapped tightly around your shoulders. He's looking at you in the photo with that same look of adoration you once found so comforting. Now, it makes you want to scream. It's a lie. The whole moment is a lie. Was he thinking of her even then, as he held you on that beach, watching the sunset? Was he texting her when he said he was checking work emails? The memories, once your most treasured possessions, are now a gallery of forgeries, and you are the fool who paid top dollar for them. The sobs subside, replaced by a hollow, echoing emptiness. You feel hollowed out, a shell of the person you were just hours ago. The idea of walking away flickers in your mind. It's the sane, rational thing to do. Pack a bag, go to a friend's house, call a lawyer, and start the painful process of disentangling your life from his. But the thought feels wrong. It feels like a concession. Walking away feels like letting him win. He gets to live his double life, to have his fun, and when he's done, he just discards you, and the world keeps on spinning. He gets to keep his job, his reputation, his friends. He might even get to be with her, publicly this time, without any real consequence for the carnage he left behind. He gets a happy ending, and you get what? A broken heart and a mountain of therapy bills? No. That's not justice. That's not even close. The thought of him moving on, of him being happy after what he did, is a physical pain. It's an injustice so profound it ignites a new fire within you. It's not the hot, impulsive rage from before. This is something colder, more calculated. It's the quiet, simmering anger of someone who has nothing left to lose. Walking away is passive. It's accepting the role of the victim. And you refuse to be a victim. You were a victim when you were ignorant, but not anymore. Now, you know the truth. And knowledge is power. You slowly push yourself up from the floor, your muscles aching as if you've been in a fight. You wipe the tears from your face with the back of your hand, your movements strangely calm. The storm inside you has passed, leaving behind a chilling stillness. You look around the apartment, but you're not seeing the lies anymore. You're seeing assets. You're seeing opportunities. The shared bank accounts, the joint lease, the friends who trust him, the professional reputation he's so carefully cultivated. These are not just parts of a life you built together, they are vulnerabilities. They are levers you can pull. The decision solidifies in your mind, not as a burst of inspiration, but as a slow, dawning certainty. You are not going to walk away. You are going to make him stay. You are going to make him live in the mess he created. You are going to systematically dismantle the life he has so carefully built, piece by piece, until there is nothing left but the truth. He wanted to have two lives. Fine. You're going to make sure they collide in the most spectacular way possible. He wanted to be a hero in his own story. You're going to rewrite the ending and cast him as the villain. You walk over to the coffee table and pick up the hair tie. The object that started this all feels different now. It's no longer a symbol of your pain, it's a catalyst. It's the key that unlocked the door to this new reality. You walk into the kitchen, open the junk drawer, and pull out a small, empty box. You place the hair tie inside and close the lid. It's the first piece of evidence in a case you're building against him. A case for revenge. The pain is still there, a dull, constant ache in your chest. But it's no longer a weakness. It's fuel. It's the engine that will drive you forward. You are no longer just the woman he cheated on. You are the architect of his downfall. And the planning begins now. You sit at the kitchen table, the small box containing the hair tie placed squarely in front of you like a paperweight holding down a storm of rage. The apartment is still, but your mind is a hive of activity, buzzing with a cold, furious energy. You've moved beyond the pain, past the grief. You've entered a new phase, the planning. This is not a reckless, impulsive quest for vengeance. This is a project. And you, having lived with an architect for 3 years, have learned a thing or two about the importance of a solid blueprint. You pull out a notebook and a pen. The first page is blank, a clean slate. You write his name at the top, Liam. Underneath it, you draw a line down the center of the page. On the left, you write assets. On the right, vulnerabilities. This is a cold, clinical exercise, but it's necessary. You need to see him not as the man you loved, but as a target. On the assets side, you list the obvious: his successful career, his reputation as a trustworthy professional, his charming personality, his close-knit group of friends, his loving family. These are the pillars holding up his world. Your job is to systematically remove them. On the vulnerabilities side, the list is shorter but more potent. You write: the affair with Anastasia, his ego, and his fear of exposure. You study the two columns. The key, you realize, is to use his assets to exploit his vulnerabilities. His career, his greatest asset, is also the source of his greatest vulnerability. It's where he met Anastasia. It's the stage on which he performs his role as the competent, reliable hero. If you can crack that foundation, the entire structure will come tumbling down. Your first instinct is to go for the jugular. You could forward the chat logs to his boss. You could send an anonymous email to Anastasia's law firm. You could post everything on social media and let the court of public opinion tear him apart. But these are blunt instruments. They're messy, and they carry risks. They could be traced back to you. More importantly, they're too quick. A swift, brutal execution is a mercy. You don't want to give him mercy. You want him to feel the walls closing in, slowly and inexorably. You want him to experience the same gnawing uncertainty, the same slow poison of doubt, that he has been feeding you for the last 18 months. No, this needs to be a campaign. A multi-phase operation designed to dismantle his life from the inside out. You turn to a fresh page in your notebook and title it, Operation Downfall. A little dramatic, perhaps, but it feels appropriate. You break it down into 3 distinct phases. Phase 1, sowing the seeds of doubt. This phase is subtle, almost unnoticeable. It's about psychological warfare. You can't tell his friends he's cheating. He's already convinced them you're the stable, loving girlfriend. They'd never believe you. But you can make them question him. You'll start with small, seemingly innocent comments. When his best friend, Mark, asks how Liam is, you'll say, with a wistful little smile, he's been so distant lately, so secretive with his phone. I think he's planning a surprise for me. You're planting a seed. Mark will look at Liam differently. He'll notice the phone Liam always keeps face down. He'll see the late nights at the office not as dedication, but as potential deception. You'll do this with his sister, his parents. You won't tell a single lie. You'll just frame his deceptive behavior in a positive light, making him look like a hero while simultaneously making his actions seem suspicious. It's a delicate dance, but you're a quick study. You're turning his own lies against him, using his secrecy as the weapon. Phase 2, the professional sabotage. This is the core of the attack. You have the chat logs, a treasure trove of information. You've read them again, this time not for emotional content, but for tactical advantage. You find it in a conversation about a major project he's working on, a high-profile community center. In the chats, he complains to Anastasia about a corner he's cutting on the building materials to stay under budget, a detail he's hiding from the clients. He's confident no one will ever know. He also mentions, in a moment of arrogance, that he's using an untested, cheaper subcontractor for the structural steel, a guy he owes a favor to. This is it. This is the chink in his professional armor. You can't just send an anonymous tip, that's too crude. Instead, you'll create a concerned citizen, a fictional whistleblower. You'll create a new, anonymous email account, using a VPN to mask your location. You'll draft a meticulous, well-researched email to the City Planning Commission, not from a jilted lover, but from a retired structural engineer, who happens to live in the neighborhood. You'll mention the specific subcontractor and raise questions about the material integrity, framing it as a concern for public safety. You won't mention Liam by name, but you'll provide enough detail that the investigation will lead directly to his project. You're not just exposing his affair, you're exposing his professional dishonesty. You're attacking the very core of his identity. Phase 3, the grand finale. This is the final act, the checkmate. Phase 1 will have isolated him socially, making his friends and family wary. Phase 2 will have his professional life in a tailspin, with an official investigation threatening his career and reputation. He'll be cornered, stressed, and desperate. And that's when you'll deliver the final blow. But you won't be the one to do it. You'll let him do it to himself. You'll arrange for a chance encounter. You know Anastasia's favorite gym. You know Liam's schedule. You'll make sure you're at that gym at the same time as Anastasia, looking heartbroken but composed. You won't confront her. You'll just let her see you. And you'll make sure Liam's friends, who are now suspicious of him, are there too. Maybe you'll accidentally drop your purse, and out will fall the small box with the hair tie. You'll say something like, "Oh, I keep meaning to give this back to Chloe from the design team." The lie he told you will become a public puzzle piece. His friends will know there's no Chloe. Anastasia, seeing you and the hair tie, will realize he's been playing you both. The confrontation will be explosive, public, and entirely of his own making. You'll just be the innocent bystander who lit the fuse. You close the notebook, a sense of calm settling over you. The plan is intricate, risky, and utterly ruthless. It's a reflection of the man he has become. You're not just getting revenge, you're holding up a mirror and forcing him to see the monster he created. You're taking back the narrative. He wrote you as a fool, but you're about to rewrite the ending, and in this version, you're the one holding the pen. The plan is set. The first move is just hours away. The first rays of dawn are creeping over the city skyline, painting the clouds in shades of pink and gold. It's a beautiful, hopeful sight, the kind of view you and Liam used to love watching together. But today, as you stand on the balcony, the sunrise doesn't fill you with hope. It fills you with a sense of grim purpose. It's the start of a new day, the first day of Operation Downfall. You haven't slept. You spent the night refining your plan, going over every detail, every possible outcome. You feel a strange kind of clarity, a focus you haven't experienced in months. The pain is still there, a dull ache in the background, but it's no longer in control. You are. You go back inside and take a shower, the hot water a welcome shock to your system. As you get ready, you're not just getting dressed, you're putting on a costume. You're becoming the character you need to be, the loving, slightly naive girlfriend who is blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around her. You choose a soft, floral dress, the kind of thing he always says you look beautiful in. You apply your makeup with a steady hand, a touch of mascara, a sweep of blush. You look in the mirror and practice your expression. A soft, open smile. A look of gentle adoration. It's a mask, but it's a convincing one. You are ready for your first performance. Your first target is Mark. He's the linchpin of Liam's social circle, and if you can make him question Liam, the dominoes will start to fall. You text him, asking if he's free for a quick coffee. He replies almost immediately, "Of course." Mark is a good guy, a loyal friend. He's the perfect pawn. You meet him at a cafe halfway between his office and yours. The air is filled with the rich scent of coffee and the low hum of conversation. You order a latte and sit at a small table in the corner, a perfect spot for an intimate, seemingly innocent chat. The conversation starts easily enough. You ask about his work, his new girlfriend, the usual pleasantries. Then, you steer the ship. You let out a small, theatrical sigh, a wistful smile playing on your lips. Liam's just been so amazing lately, you say, your voice soft and full of affection. Mark raises an eyebrow, intrigued. Oh yeah? More amazing than usual, he asks, taking a sip of his Americano. You nod, looking down into your coffee cup as if you're sharing a precious secret. He's just been so focused. So dedicated. He's been working so hard, and he's been so secretive with his phone. I know he's probably just stressed about that big community center project, but I can't shake the feeling that he's planning something special. You know how he gets when he's planning a surprise. You laugh a little, a light, airy sound. I'm probably just getting my hopes up for nothing, but a girl can dream, right? You watch him process this. You see the flicker in his eyes. He's connecting the dots. The secretive phone. The late nights. He's been on the receiving end of Liam's working late excuses countless times. You've just given him a new lens through which to view them. He's no longer just seeing a dedicated friend, he's seeing a man with a secret. But because you framed it as a positive, as a potential surprise for you, his suspicion is laced with confusion, not alarm. He smiles, but it doesn't quite reach his eyes. Well, if anyone can pull off a grand gesture, it's Liam, he says. He's a good guy. He's trying to convince himself as much as you. Mission accomplished. The seed is planted. Your next target is Liam's sister, Sarah. You've always had a good relationship with her, which makes this both easier and more cruel. You decide a phone call is the best approach. You wait until the afternoon, a time when you know she's usually on a break from her job as a teacher. You call her, and after a few minutes of catching up, you let the vulnerability creep into your voice. Hey, Sarah, can I ask you something? And please tell me if I'm being completely silly. She immediately sounds concerned. Of course. What's wrong? You take a deep breath, letting it tremble just slightly. It's Liam. He's just been so distant lately. Not in a bad way. Just preoccupied. And he's so weird about his phone. He takes it everywhere. I know it's probably just work stress, or maybe he's just in a mood, but I can't shake this feeling that something's off. I feel so silly even saying it out loud. This is a masterstroke of emotional manipulation. You're not accusing Liam of anything. You're positioning yourself as an insecure girlfriend seeking reassurance from her boyfriend's sister. You're making Sarah an ally, a confidant. She immediately rushes to comfort you. Oh, honey, don't be silly. You know Liam. He's a classic overthinker. He probably has a million things on his mind with work. He adores you. Everyone can see that. But even as she says the words, you know a seed of doubt has been planted in her mind, too. She'll be watching him now, looking for the distant behavior you described. She'll notice the phone. They all will. The final touch for phase 1 is his parents. You're all invited to their house for Sunday dinner a few days later. It's the perfect opportunity. The evening is pleasant, filled with good food and easy conversation. His mom, a warm, perceptive woman, asks you how you are. You seize the moment. I'm wonderful, thank you, you say, beaming. Liam is just so incredible. He's been working so incredibly hard on that new project. Sometimes I feel like I barely see him, he's so dedicated. He's always on his laptop or his phone, even late at night. I keep telling him he needs to relax, but he's just so driven. Honestly, I'm so proud of him. Again, it's all praise. It's a loving girlfriend bragging about her ambitious partner. But you've expertly woven in the key details: the obsession with his phone, the late nights, the emotional distance disguised as dedication. His parents exchange a subtle, worried glance. They're proud of their son's success, but they're his parents. They worry about him. You've just given them a new reason to. You've successfully framed his deceitful behavior as a symptom of overwork, making his loved ones concerned for his well-being, while simultaneously making them deeply suspicious of his actions. As you and Liam drive home that night, he's quiet. You can feel the tension radiating from him. "Everything okay at dinner?" you ask, your voice the picture of innocence. "Yeah," he says, his eyes fixed on the road. "It was fine. Just. Mark was acting a little weird. And my mom kept asking if I was getting enough sleep." You hide a smile by turning to look out the window. Phase 1 is complete. The seeds of doubt have been sown in the fertile ground of his closest relationships. He's starting to feel the walls close in, a slow, creeping paranoia, and he has no idea why. He just knows that suddenly, everyone is looking at him a little differently. And you are the one holding the watering can. The days following your campaign of subtle sabotage are thick with a tension you can almost taste. The atmosphere in the apartment is charged, like the air before a lightning strike. Liam is on edge, a coiled spring of nervous energy. He's more irritable, snapping at you for leaving a cup on the counter or for not answering your phone quickly enough. Then, just as quickly, the anger will evaporate, replaced by a cloying, desperate sweetness. He'll bring you flowers for no reason, or insist on cooking you an elaborate dinner after a long day at work. It's a whiplash-inducing cycle, and you know exactly what's causing it. The seeds of doubt you planted are taking root. He can feel the subtle shifts in the way his friends and family interact with him, the questioning glances, the overly concerned inquiries. He knows something is wrong, but he can't pinpoint the source. So he's lashing out, then trying to smooth it over, a man desperately trying to plug leaks in a dam that's about to burst. You play your part perfectly. You're the patient, understanding girlfriend. When he's irritable, you give him space. When he's sweet, you reward him with a grateful smile. You are the calm center of his chaotic world, the one person he thinks he can still rely on. It's a delicious irony. He's leaning on the very person who is orchestrating his downfall. You watch him, a silent observer cataloging his every move, every micro-expression of guilt and paranoia. And you wait. You wait for the perfect moment to execute phase 2. That moment arrives on a quiet Wednesday afternoon. You take the day off work, telling your boss you have a personal appointment. The appointment is with justice. You sit at your own desk, not his, a deliberate choice. This is your operation. You open your laptop, the screen a blank canvas. First, you create a new email account using a secure, encrypted service. You don't use your home Wi-Fi. Instead, you tether your laptop to your phone's data, a small but important precaution. You choose an email address that sounds official and civic-minded, structural integrity watchdog at protonmail.com. It's anonymous, but it carries an air of authority. Next, you compose the email. This is the most critical part. It needs to be perfect. You spend over an hour on it, crafting every sentence with meticulous care. You don't write like a jilted lover. You write like a concerned, retired professional, a man who has spent his life building things and who now has a vested interest in the safety of his community. You don't use emotional language. You use facts. To the honorable members of the City Planning Commission, it begins. I am writing to you today not as a complainant, but as a concerned citizen and retired structural engineer with over 40 years of experience. I have been following the progress of the new Northwood Community Center project with great interest and admiration. It is a wonderful addition to our neighborhood. However, in my observations of the construction site, I have become aware of some details that give me cause for significant concern regarding the long-term safety and integrity of the building. You lay out your case with cold, hard precision. You mention the specific subcontractor he's using for the structural steel, a company you found through a quick search of public records. You note that this company has a limited track record with large-scale projects. You raise questions about the grade of steel being used, referencing specific building codes that you found through a quick online search. You don't accuse Liam of anything. In fact, you don't mention him at all. You frame it as a concern that the lead architect might be being misled by an unscrupulous subcontractor. You're giving him an out, a plausible deniability that makes the email seem even more credible. You sign it, a concerned neighbor, and attach a few grainy, zoomed-in photos you took of the construction site from a distance with your phone. They don't show anything incriminating, but they add to the authenticity. You read the email one last time. It's perfect. It's professional, factual, and alarming without being hysterical. It's a ticking time bomb, and you're about to place it directly on his desk. You take a deep breath, your hand hovering over the mouse. There's no turning back now. This is the point of no return. With a steady hand, you click send. A wave of something washes over you, a mixture of adrenaline, fear, and a profound, chilling satisfaction. It's done. The next 2 days are an exercise in patience. You go about your routine, but underneath, you're on high alert. You check the local news websites compulsively, looking for any mention of the community center project. You scan the City Planning Commission's website for any updates. There's nothing. The silence is maddening. You start to second-guess yourself. Was the email too vague? Too specific? Did they just dismiss it as the ramblings of a crank? The anxiety is a physical presence, a tight knot in your stomach. Then, on Friday evening, you see the first crack. Liam comes home, and he's not just irritable, he's pale. His face is a mask of barely controlled panic. He barely greets you, just drops his briefcase and heads straight for the liquor cabinet, pouring himself a stiff drink, something he rarely does. Rough day, you ask, your voice carefully neutral. He downs half the glass in one go. You could say that, he says, his voice strained. We got an inquiry from the city. Some anonymous crackpot sent an email raising questions about the structural steel on the community center project. He lets out a short, bitter laugh. Said we were cutting corners. It's ridiculous. But now I have to spend the whole weekend pulling together documentation to prove them wrong. It's a bureaucratic nightmare. You nod, your expression a perfect mask of sympathy. Oh, that's awful. Some people just have too much time on their hands, you say, laying a comforting hand on his arm. Inside, you're soaring. It worked. The bomb has exploded. You watch him over the next few days as he frantically tries to cover his tracks. He's on the phone constantly, his voice hushed and urgent. He's holed up in his office, surrounded by blueprints and reports. The confident, charming architect is gone, replaced by a scared, desperate man trying to stop a landslide. The consequences can no longer be ignored. The escalation has begun, and it's even more satisfying than you could have ever imagined. The professional noose around Liam's neck is tightening. The city's inquiry has triggered an internal audit at his firm. He's been called into meetings with his bosses, his reputation hanging by a thread. The stress is etched onto his face, a permanent fixture of worry and exhaustion. He's volatile, snapping at you one moment and clinging to you the next, desperately seeking the comfort of the one person he believes is still on his side. He's a cornered animal, and you know it's time to deliver the final, public blow. Phase 3 is ready to be executed. The venue for his public execution is a sleek, modern gym downtown, a place of pristine white walls and gleaming chrome. It's Anastasia's gym. You know this from her meticulously curated Instagram stories, often featuring her post-workout glow, a protein shake in hand. It's also where Mark, Liam's best friend, happens to work out most evenings. The stars have aligned, and you just need to give them a little push. You start with Mark. You call him, your voice laced with a carefully constructed concern. "Hey, Mark. I'm just so worried about Liam. He's not sleeping, he's losing weight. I think he needs to get out of the house, clear his head. Would you be up for grabbing him for a workout at your gym tonight? My treat for smoothies afterward. I'll even come along and try to keep up on the elliptical." The idea is perfect. It's framed as an act of support for Liam, making you the caring girlfriend and Mark the loyal friend. He agrees instantly, relieved to have a way to help. You arrive at the gym before anyone else. You're not dressed to work out, not really. You're wearing simple black leggings and a loose-fitting gray t-shirt, an outfit that says, "I'm here, but I'm not really here." You find a spot in the cardio section, on an elliptical machine with a clear view of the entrance and the smoothie bar. You start moving, your motions slow and listless. You stare blankly at the TV screen mounted on the wall, but you're not watching it. You're scanning the room, a predator waiting for its prey. Anastasia arrives first. She looks exactly as she does in her photos, polished, powerful, and focused. Her hair is pulled back in that signature, severe ponytail, the black hair tie a stark contrast to her blonde hair. She doesn't see you at first. She heads to the weights section, moving with an athlete's grace. You watch her, a cold, detached curiosity. This is the other woman. The one he risked everything for. She seems normal. Just a person at the gym. It's almost disappointing. Mark arrives a few minutes later. He spots you and waves, making his way over. "Hey. Glad you could make it. Liam's just parking, he'll be in a sec." You give him a weak smile. "Thanks for coming, Mark. It means a lot. You're playing your part perfectly." As Mark goes to get changed, Anastasia finishes her set and walks toward the smoothie bar, her back to you. This is your window. You casually step off the elliptical, pretending to head for the water fountain. You have your purse slung over your shoulder, the small box with the hair tie tucked inside. As you walk past Anastasia's table, you accidentally fumble with your water bottle. It slips from your hand, clattering to the floor. In your clumsy attempt to catch it, your purse strap slides off your shoulder, and the bag tumbles to the ground. It's a performance worthy of an Oscar. "Oh, clumsy me," you murmur, bending down to retrieve your things. And there it is. The small, black box falls out and lands right at Anastasia's feet. She looks down, then up at you, her expression unreadable. Mark walks out of the locker room just in time to see you both staring at the box on the floor. He hurries over. "Everything okay?" You pick up the box, a look of dawning, embarrassed realization on your face. "Oh, gosh," you say, your voice just loud enough for them to hear. You open the box, revealing the black hair tie. "I am so sorry. I've been meaning to give this back to Chloe from the design team. Liam said she dropped it in his car weeks ago and I keep forgetting." You say the name, Chloe, with such innocent conviction, it's a weapon in itself. The effect is instantaneous and catastrophic. Mark freezes, his face a mask of confusion and dawning horror. Chloe from the design team. He remembers your coffee conversation. He remembers you saying Liam was probably planning a surprise. The lie clicks into place with the force of a guillotine. There is no Chloe. He's been lying. His eyes dart from you to the hair tie in your hand, his entire perception of his best friend shattering in an instant. Anastasia's reaction is even more profound. She looks at the hair tie, then at your face, a face she doesn't recognize but understands instantly. She sees the pain in your eyes, a pain that mirrors her own. She sees the lie you so clearly believe. And she realizes, with a sickening certainty, that he told you the same story he probably tells her. She's not the only one. She's not the special exception. She's just another secret in a life full of them. Her professional composure cracks, replaced by a raw, wounded fury. And that's when Liam walks in. He's smiling, a rare sight these days. "Hey, guys. Ready to get sweaty?" he says, his voice cheerful and oblivious. He stops dead when he sees the scene. You, holding the box. Mark, looking at him with a look of pure betrayal. And Anastasia, standing there, her face a thundercloud of rage. He sees the hair tie in your hand. The blood drains from his face. He knows. He knows the game is over. "Liam," Anastasia says, her voice dangerously quiet. "Chloe from the design team?" The question hangs in the air, a poison dart. Liam opens his mouth, but no words come out. He looks at you, his eyes pleading, a desperate, silent plea for you to save him. But you just stand there, your expression calm and unreadable. You are no longer his savior. You are his judge. "You son of a bitch," Mark says, his voice shaking with a mixture of anger and disbelief. "All this time. You were lying to my face." To her face. He gestures toward you. The gym has gone quiet. People are starting to stare. The scene is becoming a spectacle. Liam is trapped, a man caught in a spotlight he can't escape. "Anastasia, I can explain," he stammers, taking a step toward her. She recoils as if he's physically struck her. "Explain? Explain what? That you're a liar? That you've been playing us both?" "Who is she?" she asks, pointing a trembling finger at you. "She's my girlfriend," Liam says, the words barely a whisper. The admission is a death knell. Anastasia lets out a harsh, broken laugh, a sound full of pain and contempt. "Of course she is. Of course she is." She looks at you, and for the first time, there's a flicker of something like sympathy in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she says, and you know she means it. She turns on her heel and walks away, leaving him standing there, utterly exposed and alone. The final confrontation isn't a shouting match. It's a quiet, devastating implosion. Mark just shakes his head, a look of profound disappointment on his face. "I'm done, man," he says, and turns and walks away, leaving Liam with nothing but the wreckage of his life. And you, the architect of it all, simply put the hair tie back in its box, turn, and walk out of the gym, leaving him to face the silent judgment of the strangers who just witnessed his world come crashing down. You don't look back. You walk out of the gym and into the cool night air, the automatic doors hissing shut behind you, sealing the chaos inside. The city lights blur into a watercolor painting of neon and street lamps. You don't have a destination. You just walk. One foot in front of the other, a steady, rhythmic motion that feels like the only thing holding you together. The adrenaline that carried you through the final act of your plan has receded, leaving behind a vast, echoing emptiness. You won. You orchestrated the perfect, public demolition of the man who betrayed you. But there is no parade. No confetti. There is only the quiet, hollow sound of your own footsteps on the pavement. You can't go home. The apartment is no longer a sanctuary. It's a crime scene, a museum of a life that was never real. You pull out your phone and book a room at a nondescript business hotel downtown, a place of anonymous hallways and impersonal comfort. The cab ride is silent. You stare out the window, watching the city slide by, a world of people going about their normal lives, oblivious to the personal apocalypse you've just engineered. You check into the hotel, the plastic keycard cool in your hand. The room is clean, sterile, and blessedly empty. You drop your purse on the desk, kick off your shoes, and just stand there in the middle of the room. The silence is overwhelming. Your phone begins to vibrate, a frantic, insistent buzz against the wooden desk. It's Liam. His name flashes on the screen, followed by a string of texts. Where are you? Please answer me. We need to talk. I can explain everything. You watch the notifications pile up, a digital avalanche of desperation. You feel nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no pity. You feel a profound and utter disconnect, as if you're watching a movie about someone else's life. You silence the phone, placing it face down on the desk. His drama is no longer your concern. You are the audience that has already left the theater. The next few days are a strange, suspended reality. You exist in a bubble of solitude. You order room service, you take long, hot showers, you watch mindless television. You are processing, but you're not sure what you're processing. The rage is gone. The grief is gone. All that's left is a quiet, aching void. You start to feel the consequences of your actions, not as a punishment, but as a natural law of physics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. You pushed, and the world pushed back. You get a call from Mark. You almost don't answer, but something makes you. His voice is rough, heavy with a pain you recognize. I needed to hear it from you, he says. Was any of it real? The stuff you said about him being secretive, about a surprise? You take a deep breath. The part about him being secretive was real, Mark. The surprise was a lie I told myself. There's a long silence on the other end of the line. He was my best friend, he says, his voice cracking. I don't even know who he is. And in that moment, you feel a pang of guilt, not for Liam, but for Mark. You didn't just destroy Liam's life. You shattered the world of everyone who cared about him. The collateral damage is more extensive than you anticipated. The professional fallout is swift and brutal. A week after the gym incident, a small article appears in the local news blog. Prominent architect Liam Hayes under investigation. It details the inquiry into the community center project, citing an anonymous tip. It mentions his recent personal turmoil, without going into detail. But you know. And you know everyone else does, too. The whispers in the industry, the knowing glances. The reputation he spent a decade building is crumbling, and he has no social capital left to stop it. You read the article on your laptop, and it feels like reading about a stranger. The man in the photo, with his confident smile and sharp suit, is a ghost. A character you once knew. Then, one afternoon, you get a text from an unknown number. It's short and simple. This is Anastasia. I'm sorry for my part in your pain. You stare at the message, a strange sense of closure washing over you. You don't hate her. In a different world, under different circumstances, you might have been friends. You were both just pawns in his selfish game. You type back a simple reply, I'm sorry for yours, too. It's the end of your strange, silent connection. You are two women who survived the same shipwreck, now swimming in different directions. Eventually, you have to go back. You have to face the apartment, to collect your things and officially close that chapter of your life. You go on a Tuesday morning, knowing he'll be at work, or what's left of his work. You use your key, the lock turning with a familiar click. The apartment is exactly as you left it, but it feels like a fossilized ruin. The air is stale, thick with the ghosts of happier times. You walk through the rooms, a ghost in your own home. You pick up a photo of the two of you on the beach. You don't feel sadness anymore. You just feel a distant sense of pity for the woman in the picture, so blissfully unaware of the storm on the horizon. You pack your things efficiently, methodically. Your clothes, your books, your photos. You leave his things untouched. His architectural sketches, his expensive coffee machine, his collection of worn-out paperbacks. They are just objects now, stripped of their meaning. As you're packing the last box, you find it. The small, black box containing the hair tie. You left it on the coffee table that night, a final, silent accusation. You pick it up, open it, and look at the hair tie. It started everything. It was the key that unlocked the truth, the catalyst for your revenge. You close the box and drop it into the trash can. You don't need it anymore. Its purpose is served. You walk out of the apartment with your boxes, leaving the door unlocked behind you. You don't look back. You are free. But as you stand in the elevator, the doors closing on the life you once knew, you realize that freedom isn't the exhilarating, triumphant feeling you imagined. It's heavy. It's quiet. It's the empty space where a person used to be. You won the war, but you're standing alone on a battlefield of your own making, and the cost of victory was a piece of your own soul. The first few weeks in your new life are a study in contrasts. The world outside is the same, the sun rises, the traffic hums, people rush to and from their jobs, but your world has been shrunk to the four walls of a small, rented apartment. It's a temporary measure, a place to land while you figure out where to go next. The silence is the most difficult part. For 3 years, your life had a soundtrack, his key in the lock, the low murmur of the television, his laughter, his voice on the phone. Now, there is only the sound of your own breathing, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant wail of a siren. The silence is so loud it feels like a physical presence. You start to rebuild, not with grand gestures, but with small, deliberate acts. You buy a set of plates that you actually like, not the ones you picked out together because they were a neutral compromise. You hang art on the walls that speaks to you, abstract splashes of color that don't have to match anyone else's taste. You buy a single, vibrant green snake plant and place it on the windowsill, a symbol of resilience, a living thing that is yours and yours alone. These are small things, but they are profound. You are not just decorating an apartment, you are reclaiming your identity, one throw pillow at a time. You find yourself thinking about the revenge, replaying the events in your mind like a film you've seen too many times. The satisfaction you felt in the moment, the look on Liam's face in the gym, the shock in Mark's eyes, has faded, replaced by a more complex and sobering understanding. You know, they say revenge is a dish best served cold. They're not wrong. But they forget to mention the indigestion that comes afterward. Destroying him didn't heal you. It didn't erase the betrayal or bring back the 18 months you lost. It just leveled the playing field. It was a necessary act of self-preservation, a way of saying, you will not get away with this. You will not walk away unscathed. But it wasn't a cure. It was amputation. You cut off the diseased limb to save the body, but you're still left with the phantom pain and the scar. You realize the true purpose of your revenge wasn't to punish him. It was to prove to yourself that you were not powerless. He had stripped you of your agency, making you a character in his secret narrative. The revenge was a way of snatching the pen back and writing your own ending. It was a declaration that you were not a victim to be discarded, but a force to be reckoned with. But now that the war is over, you understand that the real battle was never against him. It was against the version of yourself that he created, the trusting, naive woman who was so easily deceived. The real victory is not that he fell, but that you are still standing. You start to reconnect with the world you had let slip away. You call your friend, the one you canceled dinner on the night you found the hair tie, and you tell her everything. You don't leave out a single detail. You tell her about the investigation, the plan, the execution. You expect judgment, but you get only understanding and a fierce, unwavering support. You did what you had to do to survive, she says, and the simple validation is more healing than any revenge plot could ever be. You start going out again, not to crowded bars or parties, but to quiet bookstores, to long walks in the park, to a pottery class you've always been curious about. You sit at the wheel, your hands covered in cool, wet clay, and you focus on the sensation, the feeling of creating something new and solid from a formless lump. It's messy and imperfect, but it's yours. Months pass. The seasons change. The sharp edges of your pain begin to soften, blurring into a more manageable, melancholic ache. You find a permanent apartment, a small, sun-drenched place with a balcony overlooking a quiet garden. It's not the glittering city skyline view you once had, but it feels more like home than any place you've lived in years. One afternoon, you're walking home from the grocery store, a bag of groceries in your arms, when you see him. He's across the street, getting out of a car that isn't his sleek black sedan. It's an older, more modest model. He looks different. Thinner, older. The confident, charming architect is gone, replaced by a man who looks defeated, his shoulders slumped as he walks toward a nondescript apartment building. He's alone. Your heart doesn't stop. You don't feel a surge of anger or a wave of pity. You don't feel anything at all. He's just a man on the street, a stranger from a past life. The connection that once felt like an unbreakable bond is completely, irrevocably gone. You watch him for a moment, then you turn and continue walking, the weight of the groceries in your arms a comforting, grounding reality. You don't look back. In that moment, you realize you have finally, truly moved forward. Closure isn't about getting an apology or seeing him suffer. It's about reaching a point where his existence no longer has any impact on your own. He is no longer the villain in your story, because he is no longer in your story at all. You are the only character that matters now. And as you unlock the door to your new home, you feel something you haven't felt in a very long time, a quiet, steady, and genuine sense of peace. So, there you have it. A story that began not with a bang, but with a whisper, a simple, black hair tie left behind in a car. It's a chilling reminder that the foundations of our lives, the ones we believe are made of solid rock, can sometimes be nothing more than carefully constructed illusions. Her journey wasn't just about uncovering an affair, it was about the systematic dismantling of a lie and the painful, messy process of rebuilding a truth from the rubble. The revenge she executed was cold, calculated, and brutally effective. But as we saw, victory isn't always the triumphant, firework-filled moment we imagine. Sometimes, it's a quiet, hollow space where a person used to be. The real takeaway here isn't about the satisfaction of payback. It's about the resilience of the human spirit. It's about the moment you stop defining yourself by your pain and start defining yourself by your survival. She didn't just get revenge, she got herself back. She learned that the most powerful thing you can do when someone tries to break you is not to break them in return, but to refuse to stay broken. The scar will always be there, a reminder of the battle, but it no longer hurts to touch it. It's just a part of her story, a testament to the fact that she survived. Until next time, remember, everyone has their story. Now I have a question for you, and I really want you to think about it. Have you ever found that one piece of evidence, that one small, seemingly insignificant object, a text, a receipt, a hair tie, that made you question everything you thought you knew? And what did you do with the truth once you found it? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one.